Imagine a country where electricity is scarce, fuel is expensive, and poverty casts a heavy shadow over daily life. Now picture this same country creating an invention so unique it's turning heads across the world. This isn't Silicon Valley. This isn't Europe or China. This is Burkina Faso, one of the poorest nations on Earth, where a group of determined innovators has built something extraordinary: a solar-powered bicycle. What began as a humble dream of mobility has now become a symbol of resilience, hope, and African innovation. To understand why this solar bike is making global headlines, we need to look at Burkina Faso itself. Burkina Faso is a landlocked country in West Africa. For decades, it has struggled with poverty, political instability, and limited infrastructure. Over 40% of the population lives below the poverty line, and access to electricity remains one of the lowest in the world. In many villages, darkness begins as soon as the sun sets, and people walk miles to fetch water, food, or attend school. Transportation is another pressing challenge. Fuel is not only expensive but often unavailable in rural areas. For many families, owning a car or even a motorbike is a luxury they can't dream of. Bicycles, therefore, have always been the most common mode of transport, but even bicycles come with limitations. Long distances, fatigue, and the hot African sun make daily travel exhausting. And yet, amid these struggles, innovation has found a way. A team of passionate young people with limited resources but unlimited creativity asked a bold question. What if we could use the sun, our greatest natural resource, to power our journeys? That question gave birth to an invention that is now being called a game changer for Africa's future. The story begins in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso's bustling capital. Among the crowded streets and dusty markets, a small workshop buzzes with excitement. Here, a group of students and engineers decided to take on the impossible. With scraps of metal, recycled bicycle parts, and solar panels salvaged from old projects, they started building something no one thought was possible: a solar-powered bicycle. At first, people laughed. How can students with no money build something the big companies have never made? Neighbors whispered. But the young innovators pressed on. Day after day, they worked under the scorching sun, welding, cutting, and testing. One of the students, Abdoulaye, recalled, "We didn't have resources, but we had determination. Every time we failed, we told ourselves, if others can invent, why not us?" The breakthrough came when they attached a small solar panel to the bike's frame, connected it to a simple battery, and powered a lightweight motor. For the first time, a rider pedaled lightly and the bike moved forward effortlessly. The workshop erupted in cheers. Word spread quickly. Soon, villagers gathered to see this strange new bicycle. Unlike regular bikes, it didn't need much pedaling. During the day, the solar panel charged the battery, and even in the evening, it could run smoothly. For women who traveled miles to the market, for children who walked hours to reach school, and for farmers who carried heavy loads, this invention was nothing short of miraculous. One farmer, watching the bike in action, said with tears in his eyes, "All my life I've carried goods on my back. If my son can ride this bike to sell our crops, it will change our family's future." But this story is not just about the bike, it's about the message behind it. Burkina Faso's solar bike proves that innovation is not limited to rich nations or high-tech labs. Sometimes the greatest ideas come from the hardest struggles. What makes this bike so powerful is its simplicity. It doesn't require fuel, it doesn't pollute the air, and it doesn't depend on a strong economy. It only needs sunlight, something Burkina Faso has in abundance. International organizations soon began to notice. Engineers from Europe and Asia praised the creativity. Environmentalists called it a step toward a greener future. And for many Africans, the bike became a symbol of pride, a reminder that Africa doesn't have to wait for outside help. It can create its own solutions. But the inventors know this is just the beginning. They dream of scaling production, of giving every village access to solar bikes, of building a future where poverty does not stop progress. As Abdoulaye said proudly, "We are poor, yes, but poverty does not mean we cannot innovate. The sun shines on us all, and we are learning to ride with it." Why does this solar bike matter? First, it directly tackles poverty and mobility. In countries like Burkina Faso, where most people cannot afford fuel or cars, a solar-powered bicycle means children can reach schools, farmers can carry produce to markets, and families can save precious money. Second, it represents a green alternative in a world battling climate change. Transportation is one of the largest polluters, and Africa, rich in sunlight, has the potential to leapfrog into clean technologies without repeating the mistakes of industrial nations. Third, and perhaps most importantly, it changes the narrative of Africa. Too often, the continent is portrayed only through images of war, famine, and aid. This bike tells a different story, one of creativity, resilience, and empowerment. It shows the world that innovation can emerge from the very places most people least expect. The solar bike is not just transportation, it's a statement. Africa can build its own future. As the sun sets over the dusty roads of Burkina Faso, a young boy rides home on a solar-powered bike. Behind him, villagers watch with awe, realizing that something has shifted. This is more than a bicycle. It is hope on two wheels. The journey of Burkina Faso's solar bike reminds us that human spirit shines brightest in the darkest times. When the world doubted, a group of determined innovators believed. And in doing so, they proved that progress is not reserved for the wealthy. It belongs to anyone brave enough to dream. So the next time you hear the word innovation, don't just think of billion-dollar tech companies. Think of a small workshop in Burkina Faso where sunlight was turned into motion and poverty into possibility.